Well, I could not be more delighted to be here at the UN Biodiversity COP conference, COP16, and to meet my MP, Pippa Heylings, the new MP for Cambridgeshire South. Pippa, this is so good for me. I've been at COPs for so many years and I've never had my MP here before.
Well, it's a first for me as well. So here I am at COP with one of my constituents, with me being a newly elected MP. And you know what? During the campaign, I said that if I was elected, I would make sure that we would put climate and nature at the heart of everything that we're doing in Parliament. And to be then appointed as the Liberal Democrat spokesperson on climate change, and therefore to be here in a cross-party basis from the UK, here in Colombia, at the global summit where countries from all over the world are tackling problems that are really important to people in South Cambridgeshire. And how important is that? I just want to mention a few things, could I?
Please do. This is important, isn't it? Because people will sometimes think, oh, these international conferences, they're all very important and highfalutin, but what do they really do for us? What does it mean for South Cambridgeshire?
So, just over a week ago, about 50 people in South Cambridgeshire came together from all of the villages on the National Day of Action for Meet Your MP and make asks around climate and nature. So we spent a half day together where they'd worked really hard on the questions that they wanted to ask me as their MP. And that went from renewable energies to waste management, but there was also another part of that, and it was about globally. You know, how can what people are doing locally have an impact on our national targets and pledges to the world, and how can that have an impact on the global twin crises of nature and climate emergencies? And so I asked them then, I said, if I'm coming here to the Global Summit on Nature, what would you want me to say to world leaders here? And I just want to make reference to a few of those. So the first is from the eco-councils from schools across Cambridgeshire. And I met with them when they presented to South Cambridgeshire District Council and made asks. And Freya has written to me, and she says, I'm a 15-year-old and I'm scared. And she said, and I've been scared for many years now about what's happening to the world around me. And I want to know that you, together with all decision makers, are really going to take us away from what seems to be this disaster that she fears, the catastrophe that she fears. And she said, while my peers have given up hope, I've tried not to think about it as the destruction of the world seems imminent no matter what we do. But I still want every animal that can be saved to be saved, every habitat that can be preserved to be preserved, and every human being's life that can be saved to be saved. But don't take this as a message of hope. Take this as a message of action for you as an MP, for all MPs in the country, in England and all countries. That's her message.
I have to say, Freya said it right.
And it's filled with fear, isn't it? And that's why it's also lovely to have this picture of the endangered water voles, and this is a water vole token from somebody who works with the Friends of the River Shep, and they're seen very rarely, aren't they, Craig? So it's really such a joy to be able to see the water voles coming back to our precious chalk streams. And why are they coming back? Well, as they were telling me, they wanted to share stories of all the work they're doing as community river action groups around the chalk streams. And we've got lots of chalk streams in South Cambridgeshire, and the River Shep is one of them. But it's only surviving and bringing the nature and habitat back because of the work of local community groups, as well as us making sure that the water companies do what they should be doing and they do not continue dumping raw sewage into these beautiful chalk streams. But that's what gives us hope. And I've got more of these, and I'm going to be making sure that I can actually bring these stories to people, to countries around the world, to show that even though in Cambridgeshire we're one of the most nature-depleted counties in the country, in a country that's one of the most nature-depleted, there's still hope. This is about nature recovery. If we all do our bit, we can give hope and a future to Freya, and also to all the many people from the countries around the world that are gathered here.
And what will you be doing as the Lib Dems in Parliament, to hold the government to account? They've said that they determined to deliver the global biodiversity framework. But, in England, it's around 4% of our land that's in a good state for nature, probably even less in South Cambridgeshire. And yet the target is to get to 30% in the next 5 years. That's a lot to do. We're going to have to see much faster action from this government than the last.
Yeah, so I think first of all is to start doing the cross-party work, which is what we're doing here, coming together, getting to know each other. And I think it's all about dialogue, so we really know we can trust each other. That's the first thing. And then we are going to be a constructive opposition. So we're going to say, yep, what you're doing is right, because what they are doing, a lot of the things are right. But we think that we've got a new nature envoy. We've got a minister who's a very good, knowledgeable minister as well for environment and for nature. But what we need to see in some of the actions coming forward, for example, we don't yet have our national biodiversity strategy and action plan. Other countries have got theirs. They've come to this meeting here with those national pledges. Ours isn't ready yet. So we have to make sure that rather than just say, why isn't it ready? My job now is to say, we want to work with you to get it ready and make sure it's really good. It's one of the best. It can be an example to others. We can learn from others, and we can also show leadership in that.
We might just forgive them at being late if it's really good.
That's exactly where it is. I think that's the way we do it. Other things, obviously, there's going to be a big push around house building. Yeah. And planning reforms. Now, we all know there's a housing crisis, that we do need to build more homes. What we will be pushing on, which they're being a little bit silent about, is where does nature fit into that? So we know that we actually need to bring in both biodiversity net gain, but also the local nature recovery strategy. All the people who are working locally on all their green spaces, how those connect, how there are wildlife corridors between villages and then between different areas.
And we have, of course, brilliant examples of that with the likes of Trumpington Meadows that was done with Wildlife Trust for Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Northamptonshire, that deal that they did with the developer and the local authority to enable new houses to be built at the same time as restoring nature, creating a new Wildlife Trust reserve on the outskirts of Cambridge, which I go to every weekend now.
And it's a brilliant example, and that's what I don't want us to lose in the rush now to meet this sort of new push towards the house building targets. So I'm going to be saying to them, we can ensure nature recovery at the same time as providing affordable homes for those that need them. And that's what we're going to say. We can do both and.
Well, Pippa, I think it's so good to see you here. I mean, I really think the people of South Cambridgeshire, I can say it, we're a bunch that really care about the climate and nature crisis, and we also get the connection between local to global and global to local. So I think it's so good to see you here. So on behalf of the Wildlife Trust, thank you so much for coming to COP16. I'm sure on behalf of the Wildlife Trust for Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Northamptonshire, thank you so much for coming here and engaging in this process and thinking about what it means for us back in South Cambridgeshire.
One more plug, which is for the Wildlife Trust. So the National Trust has just written to all of its members asking them to support the Climate and Nature Bill and ask their MPs to support the Climate and Nature Bill. Yeah. Now, that's being brought by Ros Savage, who is a Lib Dem MP. Yeah. I'm co-sponsoring that bill together with MPs from across different parties. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all of the members also of the Wildlife Trusts across the country would write to their MPs and saying, support the Climate and Nature Bill?
Absolutely. Well, Pippa, thank you so much for talking to the Wildlife Trust here at COP16 in Cali in Colombia today. And thanks for being here.